I'm Allison, and this is Nelly. And about 9 months ago, I bought this Scout Tuktut, put it on the back of my Jeep Gladiator, and started a new chapter of adventures. While it's an awful lot of fun, it's also doing serious work. Work as my portable city house that saves me from taking up commuting as a part-time occupation. Since last November, it's been my city dwelling a few nights a week, and on the weekends, it's my base camp for hiking trips. Now, as an owner of a tiny trailer for the past 5 years, I've become plenty used to fielding questions from folks in the campground, at the gas station, and sometimes even in the middle of downtown traffic. So let me show you what it's like to camp commute in a tiny truck camper, and along the way I'll probably answer some of the most common questions I get asked about my tuk-tuk. My week of camper commuting starts sometime on Sunday. Whenever I get home from a trip last week or wake up, usually sore and tired from the previous day's adventure, it's time to clean out most of the stuff I put in it from the week before. I'll do laundry, give my dishes a washing in a proper dishwasher, strip the bed, and wash the sheets and blankets. I'm a pretty tidy person, and I like to clean as I go through the week. Otherwise, this place will be a disaster within a day. But still, there's no avoiding the abundance of dog hair that comes with a basset hound. But I don't always have the patience for the vacuum cleaner. Sometimes, though, there's just way too many crumbs accumulated for this method to be effective, so I will haul in a vacuum when I do a much deeper cleaning once every other week or so. This week my dryer happens to be broken, so there's a bit more waiting involved. I usually pack for a full week, even if I plan on coming home once or twice through the week. A week, 5 work days plus weekends worth of food, mine and Nelly's, a week worth of clothes, a week worth of shoes, a week worth of everything. I keep separate sets of toiletries and other necessities in the camper to cut down on my running back and forth so much. And honestly, forgetting my deodorant or toothbrush or something important again. I work in a dog-friendly office, so much of the time Nelly gets to come to work with me. Dogs aren't allowed everywhere in the building though, so there are times where she needs to stay behind. So for these times, I set up a kennel on top of the fridge. Left with a toy to chew on, she doesn't seem to mind the alone time, as she spends most of the day doing exactly what she'd be doing in the office anyway. That's napping. One of the perks of bringing a house with you to work, though, is that I can come home for lunch. So we're never separated for very long. Speaking of lunch, after 9 months, I think I've gotten the hang of cooking decently for myself with one burner. I liked the 2-burner situation I used to have in my trailer just fine, but these days I don't really miss the extras. I make things easy on myself by subscribing to a food prep and grocery delivery service, so I don't really have to think much about what I'm going to eat for lunch and dinner every day. And my precious weekend time isn't taken over by food prep. Then I keep breakfast pretty simple with a yogurt or a smoothie or something. What do you think? I eat mostly vegetarian with the occasional seafood in here just because it's more sanitary and less messy overall when you don't have to deal with raw meat juices. Lots of stir fries, lots of grain bowls with some crab, salmon, and occasional turkey nachos after a hike on the weekends. Anything that can be done in one pan with minimal prep and mess is what I'm after. And yes, I do realize this is an outdoor cooker with propane, but good ventilation coming in from multiple directions for meals with short cooking times, it's not really a problem. After a good meal at lunchtime, I'll do one of a few things before I finish my workday. Sometimes Nelly and I just hang out and take a breather. Sometimes I'll make a mid-afternoon cup of tea. Other times we'll play some camper fetch, which, let's be real here, usually involves me doing all the fetching. No. No. Shh. Oh, go away. Hey, stop that. Hey, stop that. No. The Wi-Fi from my office actually reaches out to the parking lot, so sometimes I'll just hang out in the peace and quiet and work. Well, it's peaceful with my noise-canceling headphones on anyway. I get a lot of work done out here when I need a break from the hustle and bustle of the office. Feels a bit like days gone by when I was working on the road. That is, if I close all the windows and imagine real hard. It's starting to get hot out in the Pacific Northwest, with reflecting shades down, some windows cracked, and the fan going. The morning temperatures are still pretty okay, but there have been a couple days where it's just too hot to hang out in the sweltering parking lot anytime after noon. So it's time to do the other thing we spend pretty much the rest of our time downtown doing, and that is walking. When I'm not home to work out in my own gym or out on the trails, Nelly and I walk at least 5 miles a day. Sometimes all those miles are downtown, and sometimes they're more near the neighborhood where I'm sleeping that night. It doesn't really matter, miles are miles, and I take them where I can get them until I can get back into the woods. We really like going down to the waterfront near the Olympic Sculpture Park, and when there isn't a cruise boat docked at the port, we'll do a lap through Pike Place Market sometimes. The water is almost exactly 1 mile from where I usually park, and then we get a few more miles in from there. I used to live down here for a few years, but that was before they took down the double-decker highway that used to run through. Now it's a waterfront park, and even when it's full of tourists, it's much quieter these days. After a long day at work and a long walk, it's time to relocate for the evening. Because I've lived downtown before, I know it's a place I don't really want to sleep at night. It's nothing personal against downtown, it's just really, really loud at street level, and most of the parking lots here are full of glass from obvious break-ins, so I just don't bother when there are quieter places only a few minutes drive away. But because I lived in Seattle generally for almost 13 years before I left back in early 2021, I feel pretty comfortable sleeping in a few tucked away spots in some of the quieter neighborhoods. I like to rotate neighborhoods, a couple nights in one before I move on to another. I get the variety of walking routes, but it's also somewhat for safety. I'd like to avoid anyone knowing a lone person is camping in here, and in the case of neighborhoods where folks are a little more sensitive to an RV on their street, I'd also like to not be bothered by the neighborhood busybody knocking on my door because they've seen me all the time. That hasn't happened yet, but I'm actually pretty confident in Nelly's charms to assure people that we mean them no harm. It's also not illegal to sleep in your vehicle here. You're just asked to follow the local parking regulations, which usually means you have to move every 48 hours or so. A few more miscellaneous things to mention before bed. The sink is just barely big enough to wash your face and brush your teeth. Clearly, there's also no shower in here, so in the evenings or mornings, depending on my schedule that day, I'll also take a shower at my office, which we thankfully have locker rooms available for folks who bike or walk to work and get sweaty. People have often asked me if I feel safe doing all this, and the answer is yeah. I keep a few surprises up my sleeve, including bear spray, so The real question is whether someone with ill intentions is safe messing with us. The answer to that question is no, but I still leave my laptop and some other valuables locked up at my desk in my office during the week, just in case. Speaking of safety, at some point in the near future I'll bolt a small safe somewhere in here. But it seems like a good time to talk about some upgrades I've already made to make my camper feel like an actual home away from home. I mentioned it's starting to heat up for the summer, so my bamboo sheets that stay cool are now essential on my packing list. I did have a thick foam mattress in here, but unfortunately this bed shelf has a bit of a moisture issue in the winter. So until I can find a way to raise a mattress up in order to get some airflow under there, we're sticking to a thick mattress topper on top of the original mattress, which has a vinyl bottom and actually holds up against occasional moisture without molding. I've mentioned tiling the big wall behind the fridge before, and I finally took the leftovers from that project and made a little backsplash above the sink and cooking area. I also put in a mirror so I can get ready for work in here. I still need to fix the battery shelf that broke, but the 2 thick graphic novels I've shoved under there are holding up just fine. I can usually get through a whole work week on 1 battery charge, but since I've been running the fan a lot more in the heat, I find myself needing a solar panel by the weekend if I'm not going home to charge right away. One day I'll mount a flex panel on the roof, but borrowing a standalone one from my emergency solar setup I have for my house is working just fine for now. The heater got us through even the coldest parts of last winter, holding up just fine in the single-digit temperatures. Though on one occasion the cold drained the battery super fast and prevented it from charging without having to take it out and heat it up by my fireplace. These days I'm interested in cooling solutions, but we haven't tried camping in a triple-digit day yet. So air conditioning of some kind may very well be in our near future. Now you'd think after all this camping, I'd be longing for my big squishy bed and soaking tub back home, and you'd be somewhat correct, but not as much as I long to get into the mountains. So when Friday evening rolls around with a camper already conveniently packed, I almost always have a date with a trailhead parking lot. Sometimes I spend a vacation day or two to get an extra long weekend of camping and hiking in, and sometimes it's just a quick overnight trip. On this particular weekend, though, I've got a date with a 4x4 shop whose doors aren't super tall, so it's time to take the 15 minutes to take the camper off the truck. Because of how much I use it, this event doesn't happen very often, but it's made quicker with the use of a drill to do most of the cranking. I once tried hand cranking all the jacks over my head without use of that stepladder there, and somehow knotted up my shoulders so bad, I was in bed for all of Thanksgiving vacation and needed 2 emergency deep tissue massages to sort myself out again. So proceed with caution there. Because I have a bit of a tire upgrade on the Jeep, an already tight fit is made much tighter by the wheels protruding past the fenders a bit. Really, I have about 1.5 inches to work with between the happy jacks to position the truck correctly under the camper, and it's a good thing I've had a lot of practice backing up over the years. I decided not to buy jack extenders, but that's only because I have confidence in my backing up abilities. It was really painful watching the dealership guys try to back my Jeep under the camper for the first time, but with like 8 spotters, they finally got it. I just have myself, so I go slow and get out and check often. So, after 9 months of this, did I make the right call choosing the camper life over the commute life? Absolutely. I think about the 2.5 to 4 hours of sitting in traffic I save every day while I'm doing something far more productive with that time, far more useful with that time, be it working out, walking, meeting up with friends, just chilling out. I am 100% sure I am a happier and healthier person without so much traffic in my life. Between mileage, wear and tear, and oil changes, I save almost $1,000 a month avoiding the commute. So this thing's gonna pay for itself in another 18 months anyway. I'm A-okay with this decision. And it's really hard to argue with the after-work perks too. Next time, we're gonna go on a couple mushroom hunting trips in it. And while the mushrooms were kind of a bust, the views were not. And one last thing. If my voice has sounded like I might have a mouthful of rocks, well, that's because I need to leave you with one last word of caution. So I'm working from home this week because my face looks like this. My face looks like this because I fell out of the back of my camper last night, face first. I tripped over something, I don't know what, I don't remember, and went face first through the door and off my tailgate. I don't know what happened to my legs on the way down, but my legs are really scraped up too. I don't know what happened. Thankfully, I still have all of my teeth. Ow.